Well, good afternoon and welcome to the first session of the Careers Summit. Sorry, my phone just went all funny then. That's not a good start, is it? So welcome to the first session of the Career Change Summit, which we're holding over the next 2 days. The idea of the summit is to give those of you that are looking for a career change or for a new role, maybe something completely different, and maybe the current circumstances of the last 12 months have found you looking for a new job unexpectedly. So this is all designed to help you. I'm Denise Matthews, I'm from Elevate Careers and I'm a career coach. And I've put together a portfolio of people that I think are really inspirational, and also I'll give you some absolutely fantastic advice on how to manage your job search. So we're going live on StreamYard, so if you can please give StreamYard permission to see your name, so that if you comment on the presentations, we can see who's talking to us. And also a special benefit is that I'm going to be giving away a prize of £1,500 of career coaching to anybody who comments to the speakers about their presentations, ask questions, etc., all into a prize draw at the end, and we'll pull a name out of the hat after the summit has ended. So if you're watching on replay, please give us a hashtag replay so that we can see you joined us later. I would really appreciate that. And now I'd like to welcome our first guest. This is Dawn Butler from DinkyDoodle Designs. I've known Dawn for a few years and I feel very fortunate to have done so. I've watched her build an amazing career. Dawn used to be in the police force and now following becoming, she wanted to make her hobby her job, and she'll tell you all about that herself. But when I first met her, she'd just become an international award-winning cake artist, and since then she's gone on to create her own range of products and an academy where she's teaching lots of people her wonderful skills, and she also has an amazing website. And today she's just taken delivery just before this presentation of a huge pallet of stock. So there's DinkyDoodle drip going to be making its way all over the country in the next few days. So Dawn's going to share her story and learnings. Please do ask questions in the chat, and I'll welcome her on.
Hello.
I will leave you to come and talk about your fascinating story.
Oh, thank you, Denise. Thank you. And what a great introduction. I'm not quite so sure actually I can follow that. We'll just leave it at that. But yes, thank you, Denise. I am Dawn Butler. My company name is DinkyDoodle Designs, and my story is about going from cop to cake. Now, when I say I'm a cake maker to people, what do they actually conjure up as an image? Is it the little swirls on the top of cupcakes, or maybe the odd birthday cake? So many people, when I say to them, I'm a cake decorator, they go, oh, I make cakes, but they don't quite get it. They don't quite make cakes like I make cakes. So to put you in a picture of what it is that I do, we'll let Denise run the VT. So this is the award-winning cake that she spoke about. There's Einstein. And I like to make novelty cakes. So cakes that look like other things. So this one here might be a trainer, or maybe Brian May's guitar. I took this one to the next level by you actually being able to carry it like it was a real guitar. I then started putting liquid in things so you can actually pour them like the real bottles. And this is actually one of my newest online classes. Then I started to make things move. There's BB-8, some remote control cars that you could actually drive with your smartphone. Then I put pouring things and moving things together and actually came up with a cake that held 5 litres of beer. This one, however, was the top of the pile. This is a flying helicopter cake made for Her Majesty the Queen and Prince William. And now that isn't a request that you'd certainly get every day. So when I said cakes to you then, is that the kind of cakes that you had in mind? Maybe you'd thought of, like I said, those little swirls, or maybe they're just kind of little birthday cake. But I really do take cakes to the next level. Now, when of course I started out in cake decorating, I didn't actually think that that was where I wanted to head. I never dreamed in a million years that I would be making cakes for the royal family. But how did it kind of all begin? It's a funny thing when I say about the cake decorating and what your image conjures up when I say it. It's funny because probably up to 3 to 5 years after leaving the police and becoming a cake decorator, both my parents and my in-laws still told people that that's what I did for a living. I was a police officer. I kind of wonder why. I wondered why. Was it embarrassing that I was now a cake decorator? Was it because I'd left this amazing career behind? So it took me such a long process to actually free myself of becoming a police officer. But how did I get there in the first place? Well, when I was 17, I know it's only 3 years ago. But basically, when I was 17, I left university and I'd, you get these part-time jobs. I'd got a job in a local bakery where I was learning how to jam and cream cakes. So I would just literally do the cake orders for the decorators to finish off for that day. And I loved it, absolutely loved it. But I'd finished that summer job, finished my degree and ended up in the police. Well, with a degree in performing arts, my options were pretty limited. And I certainly knew I never wanted to be out of work. So I could use my degree, any degree, to get into the police force, and off I went. And I ended up in Brighton. What a place to work. I saw absolutely anything and everything that you could imagine. And to start with, I absolutely loved it. I already knew my now husband. We were together then at that such young age. And it was difficult because we were both in different places, but we made it work. Paul eventually got a transfer down to Worthing with his job, and we were able to have kids, get married and settle down. I was doing really well. I was now a detective inspector. I was looking after things like the child protection team, and work was going great. But unbeknownst to me, if I was honest with myself, I'd realised that actually I was really unhappy. If you can hear in the background, by the way, it's sod's law, isn't it? That now the grass is being cut outside the studio, so it's a little noisy, but hopefully not too long. So I was just desperately unhappy. I was exhausted. Of always trying to please the public. Criminals hated us, the public hated us, everything that we ever did. It was just so exhausting. We'd managed to get an opportunity for Paul to take a big career leap if we moved back to Nottingham. So that really was my breaking point. Shall I go back to Nottingham and start in the police there, or shall I try something new? So we took that massive opportunity to be able to cut our cloth a little differently. Did we need the massive car? Did we actually need the house? Did I need all the holidays? Did I need to be not looking at my food bill every month when I went shopping? Or could we do something about it to help us kind of release the chains from our necks, basically? So that was what we did. We actually sold our house in Brighton with negative equity at the time. The bottom dropped out the market, and we were able to basically come back to Nottingham and rent for a little while. So, we didn't therefore need this massive mortgage. I got a job in a little supermarket where I could just help pay the wages, bring something in a month, and actually spend time with the kids. So looking after the kids became my full-time job. Now, I hadn't touched a cake really since that job when I was 17. Now, I'd eaten a fair few, but I hadn't made one. But when the kids were born, you start making birthday cakes again. And I realised it was actually quite good fun. Now, when I took that birthday cake to the first big party of class, there were 30 kids in the class and all the parents were suddenly cooing and ahhing around my cake. You ought to do this for a living, Dawn. I couldn't possibly. Who on earth would want to buy them? And that was the seed that started to be set. Now, I'd got my part-time job at Tesco's. I got 2 kids around the start of school age. And before I knew it, I was taking orders from friends and family that resulted in 20 carved novelty cakes a week. I was just as exhausted. Paul and I weren't really speaking. He was cross about the mess that I'd leave behind in my wake as I delivered a cake. I wasn't making any money from what I was doing, that the kids weren't getting their attention. I wasn't doing the Tesco's job very well. I certainly wasn't looking after a home very well. And I don't mean that he was just expecting me to do it all, but we just weren't communicating and it just wasn't working. So we sat down together and decided what we'd do. I assured him that I could make this work, that I was going to be a successful cake decorator. And he said, how? I said, I'm going to be famous. Now, with my degree in performing arts, I'd always dreamed one day that that might happen, but really, did I actually ever think it was going to be the case? But you know, once I'd said that out loud, apart from the fact that I could hear Paul laughing so hard, I suddenly thought, that's it. That's what I'm going to do. I didn't know how I was going to get there. Paul said to me, I'm going to set you a challenge. If this is what you want to do so badly, here's your challenge. You have got to provide all the fun stuff, because I'd like to go on holiday again and we can't afford it. I would also like a Range Rover. That was the car that he wanted. And seeing as we're now renting again, you need to pay for a house. And that was the challenge that he set. So the fact that he was laughing so hard and the fact that he said I couldn't do it just made me so determined. I then had some decisions to make. I initially thought that I ought to go after the business that brought in the most amount of money, which is wedding cakes. But you know what? I'm really not very good at them. I can't cope with the colour. I'm not confident at the style, and it just isn't me. So I then thought I'd failed. But when I realised that what I'd learned in part of my drama degree in sculpture and carving, I could put into what I'd learned when I was 17 in making cakes, that I could actually come up with novelty cakes. And that was a much better fit. Once I'd realised what my fit was and that I didn't need to be good at everything, then all of a sudden I could streamline it. And it went nuts. My only problem now was that I was really bad at pricing. I would still work for absolutely no money, and it would take even longer to make all of the cakes, but I felt like I was getting somewhere. I then got noticed by another company who produced cake decorating tools. They wanted to produce an airbrush, which they'd seen me using on a cake, and they knew nothing about it. So they asked for my advice. The advice that I gave them was that the airbrush that we all use is meant for blokes in a garage. It's never meant for cake craft. And we devised one together. It couldn't have been a more perfect fit, because they put all the money in and it just had my name on it and my expertise. Before I knew it, it was one of the world's leading selling airbrushed products for cakes. And because it got my brand name on it, that then went all over the world too. I remember getting a post on Facebook, "You really ought to do classes in Australia." I replied, "I am, next year." Paul went, "Are you?" I am now. I'm a massive believer that if you say it out loud, it's got to happen. And not because some infinite force is going to bring it into being, but because you will make it so. You've made it public and I can't fail. So I had to make it happen. I put out some photos of my cakes, devised some classes, put out some prices, which were really cheap and covered my costs, and sent those out to all the Australian cake decorating schools that I could find. I would hope that I could maybe fill a week's worth of teaching. I filled 6. And before I knew it, I'd be looking at heading off to Australia. Now, the places weren't going to pay me until I'd done the work. So how do I save up the money for the flights? Well, that was a cheeky cake in the shape of Richard Branson's head sent down to the head office with me and a little poem to tell him what I was up to, that I'd moved from police officer to cake decorator, and that actually, for my brass neck cheek, I'd really like a flight upgrade. Not only did I get a flight upgrade, I got free first class tickets return from London Heathrow to Sydney Airport. It was absolutely amazing. And my teaching career was born. I will never, ever look back. I absolutely thrive on the passion of helping others. So then obviously the teaching kind of went and set off. Now, the relationship I had with that company that produced the products broke down. They thought that I wouldn't be able to produce those on my own, and they simply rebranded them as their own overnight. But anyone that knows me, like Denise, knows that I just can't be beat. What is it that I can do to make this work? Now, it needed a loan and a solid business plan to be able to say that surely if I can buy these products in, I know that they can sell, I have a brand name that works, let's get it out there. And behind me, that way in the corner, you can see my very own fully funded DinkyDoodle airbrush, which is now the leading airbrush in the cake craft industry. Now, that wasn't enough. I absolutely love solving problems. So I would then go on to say, well, why does that work the way that it does? Or why haven't we got this tool for the job? And go about finding out how I could make it work. Now, as a police officer, what I'd found was that I had to solve problems. I'm a detective inspector in charge of a murder investigation. We need 400 officers to go and start searching. The answer isn't no. The answer is no problem. What's my budget? What's my timescale? And off you'd go and do it. So I did exactly the same when I was looking into these problems. I wouldn't take no for an answer. Can you produce this piece of kit? What does that cost? And how will this work? And how do I get this in? Take the pallet that's arrived just half an hour ago. That pallet has taken me about 4 weeks to not only make sure I'd saved up for, but also to import it into this country. Because of Brexit, we've now got massive issues. But that pallet of stock is here, and it's here before I've run out of any other previous stock that I've got. And I will be labeling that up myself tonight to make sure that I can put it on sale in the morning. And it never stops. So once I'd kind of started this process and started things going, how do you keep it going, particularly with something like COVID? So I've now got a number of products to my name. I've got products that will help you make color on cakes, products that will help you structure cakes. And I've even got those in major high street stores. My cake frame kits can be found now in Lakeland, Morrison's and Hobbycraft, along with selling all over the world. And it's still just me in the company. I'm the one that packs the orders. I'm the one that designs the cakes. I'm the one that labels the products. And I'm hoping to expand real soon. But what has kept me going? There are times when I've been so incredibly jealous of others, times when I would look at their social media pages and say, why aren't I doing that? Hang on a minute. Why aren't I doing that? Yeah, you're right. Why aren't I doing that? What's stopping me? Absolutely nothing. So I now don't look at those social media pages. I wake up in the morning and say, what am I going to do today? What am I going to achieve today? And then I make it happen. As I've said to you before, I'm a massive believer. If you say it out loud, it's got to happen. And I constantly tell myself, this is what I'm going to achieve this year. And then, of course, COVID hit. COVID was massive for all of us. It certainly meant that I have had to completely pivot my business. So whereas I would travel across the world teaching others how to make cakes, and I would be selling expensive airbrush kits that retail at £130, I no longer had an audience for that, nor was I now not traveling anywhere. I had to learn how to use technical equipment. I had to learn how to use a different platform, and I needed another product to keep my website going. That was what the delivery was this morning. This past year, my metallic edible drip for cakes has been the #1 selling product across cake decorating supplies. And this week, at the end of this week, sees me launch the DinkyDoodle Cake Academy. If you could see the surrounding in the studio, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different cameras that give me different angles for all of my projects. I can film things, I can then stream things. I now have a website that just basically will take me through everything that I need to teach others. And I've learned so much about how technology works. honestly, I can't answer emails, let alone be actually responsible for sorting out so many technical and editing things. But it's been an absolutely amazing journey. And how have I achieved it? Well, I have got bucketfuls, and I mean bucketfuls of drive and ambition. My motivation is what gets me up every morning. My motivation is what still sees me working at 11:30 at night. But I've surrounded myself with experts that I can listen to. That day that I realized I wasn't a wedding cake maker and I needed to concentrate on what I was good at was the day that I also realized I need to surround myself with others who can do their thing. This week saw me take on a cleaner. I have a cleaner at home because actually I'm not an expert in cleaning. What am I doing? It's wasting my time. And what we've now got is somebody busy working in the background is I've now got a Judy. Everybody needs a Judy. But Judy is now picking and packing my orders. That is literally this week, these things have started happening so that I can concentrate on the things that I feel I am best at. I'm going to take on somebody for my social media and marketing and get all the right help I need to help me channel my business. Because actually, despite what Denise says about how my business has grown, I think it's grown by fluke. And my ambition and drive is the thing that's got me this far. Just imagine where I could be in this time next year when I've put all of those amazing people in place. I hope that this has given you a little insight into the fluffy, silly cake world that I live in and how I've changed my business. And by the way, Paul did get his Land Rover and we have the most beautiful, beautiful dream home. I couldn't have wished for any more. And I honestly am so excited to see where this will lead us. But hopefully you found this a little enjoying and maybe a bit useful. And I'm certainly here to answer any of your questions. Thank you so much for your time. I've been Dawn Butler from DinkyDoodle Designs.
Oh, thank you, Dawn. That was brilliant.
You're very welcome.
Really, really good. I learned things there that I didn't know. So there you are. Well, of course, because we've had the glitch on the live, so we haven't got the questions. So what I hope is that when people come on the come and watch us on catch up, I know that I can reach out to you, and if anybody's got any questions, then we'll come along. Absolutely. So you've been on a lot of stages over the last sort of 10 years. So out of all the greats in the cake world, who's been your inspiration?
It's probably the greats in the cake world. It's possibly not anybody in the cake world. There are so many people that I think, goodness, what have you done? Look at what you've done to your business. Yeah. If it was to be the cake world, Zoe Fancy Cakes has just gone from nothing and making these little figures to having like 500,000 followers, and just the YouTube, all of her social media networks are absolutely phenomenal. And that's where I'm focusing this year. So my goal is to be snapping at her heels this time next year.
That's brilliant. Yeah, I look forward to seeing it and to buying the products.
Well, without you, honestly, without Elevate Coaching, I wouldn't be where I am, because you're my sounding board. I know that I've got that passion. I know that I've got that drive, but there's so many things that you've thought of that I go, oh, hang on a minute. Right. Okay. For instance, we've spoken about the teaching network that I teach through. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have even known it existed. Just those little things that have stopped me spending hours on Google trying to search for the right alternative and idea have just been placed in front of me. But then it's my responsibility to go, right, let's do it. And that's what I love about our chats, is that you go, you've done it all. I gave you things to do and you've done it all. It's all gone. So just whilst we're both on video, I want to say a massive thank you to you.
Oh, thank you. Well, it's good fun. I absolutely love it. And I love seeing what comes out of it, because that for me is what coaching is all about, is that you have ideas, you bounce around. Sometimes you go, no, I'm not doing that. And that's absolutely great, because you consider things, and that's
Yeah.
why you're so good at what you do. You always put that consideration into things, and if it's not right, it's not right. But you know, you come up with something better, and it's fantastic to see.
Well, it makes me think. Sometimes you haven't thought about it, and you need to go through the wrong answers in order to come up with the right one. It's the right isn't always glaring obvious in the face. So, but yes, you're always my sounding board. Thank you.
I look forward to the next 12 months and eating lots of cake together at certain times. Well, good luck with your palette.
Products now.
Yeah, go get gluing.
I know.
Thank you, Dawn. It's been a real
You're very
pleasure.
welcome. And if anybody tags me in, if they've got a question or anything specific to me, I'm sure Denise will tag me, but feel free to tag me in the Facebook group and I will do my best to reply ASAP. But I'll certainly be catching up later. And I can't wait to see the rest of the lineup that you have planned. It looks amazing.
Thank you. Have a great day. Thanks, Dawn. Bye-bye. Bye. Bye. Okay, so I hope that people found that useful. I know Dawn really well because we worked together for quite some time, but I certainly learned things from that. And it is her determination that sees her through some of those amazing projects she's done. So we're back on at 3 o'clock to talk to Russell Crowe from the Talent Hub. So I hope you can join us then to come and hear about how a recruitment consultant and organisation can support you in your candidate journey and how you can help to make it easier for yourself. So look forward to catching up later. Thank you.